Yet another horrific attack, this time, of course, on just days before Christmas. Your initial assessment of what's happening there, and I've had some security experts tell me maybe there's some silver linings in a sense that they're no longer using bombs and machine guns, but that they're down to using cars, trying to militarize vehicles.
Well, I think that those who would like to consider what look to be unplanned or poorly planned or short-term planning of lone wolf attacks are missing the point. This is a change. This is an ISIS change to recognizing that a lack of command and control isn't a problem. They embody people to go do things, and they do them. And whether you're shooting an ambassador in the back or you're driving a truck, the real challenge is, for the last 8 years, we have not gone to the source of this, either ideologically or militarily, and that's what's going to have to change. We're not going to stop these seemingly random attacks very easily because of their nature. They're very hard to stop, and it means that we have to cut off, if you will, the water flow at its source.
Two things, then. You brought up the ideology and the military aspect. Many are saying that the military aspect will be easier, although you'd have to perhaps get over a public resistance of Americans engaging in the kind of perhaps fighting that it would take ultimately to win that. But are you referring to maybe going to Raqqa and other places and eradicating the head of the organization, if you will?
Well, I do think that we have to take the fight where there are large concentrations and use appropriate military force, and I think that's where Secretary Mattis, formerly General Mattis, is going to be critical. Having a plan for the right amount of troops in the right place at the right time, and then stabilizing that so that, in fact, it can be taken control of by appropriate indigenous people, is going to be part of his command, take, and then hold and repair. We learned lessons in Iraq, and to a lesser extent in Afghanistan, but particularly in Iraq, that you have to turn over a city to the people it belongs to and get their buy-in, and that's something that hasn't been going on. So I don't think you're going to see General Mattis looking at large forces to take the fight, but he is going to be looking at appropriate forces and then finding diplomatic and military support to stabilize both Syria and Iraq. Iraq being one that we're going to have to push hard against the existing government. Syria, one in which we're going to have to change the very fundamentals of a government, because for most of my life, Syria has had an Alawite minority that has controlled over a Sunni majority, and that causes both sides to be dysfunctional when it comes to taking the control of power. If we hand it over to the Sunni, we're going to end up with minorities, Christians and Alawites, who are sort of like Shia, finding themselves being driven out. On the other hand, if we don't change this minority government's way of doing business, the atrocities and this huge exodus of Syrians will continue.